Good morning, everyone. Let me close this door so this creep on you. All right. Close this door. All right. So this morning, let's talk about Michigan. Michigan. Let me start by talking a little bit about the Homeless Access Project, which is a project we're doing at Audit Archives. So, as many of y'all know, me and my girlfriend Michelle, wifey, mother of my two children, have been living on the road now for uh, 10 years or so. Now, along the way, life happens and we have bought property. So we have property out in Winslow, Arizona. It has an APN number, it doesn't have an address, right? So we are headed to Florida and we're doing our records request because over the last nine years or so, we've been studying what's called the Assumed Authority Project, which is about people who claim to have authority over individuals, citizens, civilians, that restricts their freedoms under the color of law. Under, that's what they're claiming. But then we find out that a lot of these people are not certified to perform law enforcement, or it's not a lot. Some of these people. Well, the activities that we're talking about, and I have not been forthright with that because it really was neither here nor there till we get the data, is cleaning up homeless encampments, running homeless people off of private property, stealing their belongings, cutting up their tents, assaulting homeless people, all saying they're police officers, but they're not certified to do so. That's what started the project. So, um, when I made my records request in with Michigan State Police, they said that there was no official request made, so they can't deny me one, so I can't appeal it either. And the reason there was no official request made is because I didn't supply an address or my name. And I either had to supply an address and my name or an affidavit of indigency. So I don't have ID. I don't have an address. So I then, but Michelle has an ID and address. So she went on, got a remote. Now there's remote notary services. And one of the remote notary services that is authorized by the state of Michigan is Cyberize It. LLC, which is out of Ohio, but they're authorized to do remote notary services. Michelle, now it's expensive service. So it's $25 for the notary itself and then another $12 for the service. So you end up with about a $45 bill to get this. And now they also require an address and an ID in order to do that notary service. So a homeless person that's missing either of those items would not be able to even do this. But Michelle does have ID and address, and she got an affidavit and agency together because she's on state assistance. And well, at least the kids are. But neither of the adults here are, but the kids are for food stamps. And that was enough to get an affidavit of indigency. And that in itself was filed with a request from Michelle. Now it said audit archives, and it came from the audit archives email address because me and Michelle started the audit archives project together. Um, and the response she got back was that it's not an individual asking for this; it's an organization or an entity that's asking for this. So we don't have to supply it to you. So Michelle has now since sent another request from her personal email box with the affidavit of indigency, and we're waiting for the next response that Michigan uses. But the bottom line is that even at this step of the process, no homeless person would have been able to retrieve any public records from Michigan, at least not Michigan State Police. That not that records custodian, Lori Hinkley. You would not have been able to get those because that's why I couldn't receive them was because I didn't have an address. So Michigan state legislation actually supports this in many ways. It does require an address from any individual or affidavit of indigency. And one of the early conversations we had with Lori says that the reason they do that is because the state believes if you have an indigency affidavit of indigency on file, then you could be homeless, and they don't want to disparage the homeless. Well, that's exactly what's going on here. So Michelle is technically homeless. There's no address. She has an affidavit of indigency, and she required an address in order to get that, so she had to use Sandstone's address, which is not a mailing address. And in order to get that, and then now they are saying that because they're just saying she's not an individual. So I've uploaded the call with Amy with the Records Department and Michelle to the Audit Archives Michigan Certified Law Enforcement Officers page. Um, and, you know, at this point in time, Michigan is turning into a disparagement when it comes to homeless people in general, trying to see what to be open, have see what their open government is doing, and there's no transparency, zero transparency to homeless people in Michigan, and that's what we are wanting to prove, and that's the situation we're going to litigate in federal court. So. I look forward to showing you more and more updates on how this goes down. Michigan is going to be an exciting one for someone who's interested in civil rights and constitutional rights. But definitely setting precedent on how the state can deal with homeless people who are filing public records requests. Obviously, Michigan is claiming that they have a fail-safe in process, an exemption basically with the affidavit of indigency, but one, you couldn't get it without the address, and two, when it was sent in, they didn't even know there was a remote notary available, so they were trying to thwart her anyway. But thank God there's remote notary services in this world now. And then three, once they attach her to an entity because we have a website to aggregate it all and organize the data and show the public what is going on. So there's a website and there's a logo for that website. Websites look better with logos. So because there's a website and a logo, and the email address is a Gmail address, but it says auditarchivesweb at gmail.com is the email address. And my original request offended Lori Hinkley. She now is attaching Michelle as an individual onto an entity which has never existed. Neither myself or Michelle have been an entity. So that's what's going on. And again, Michigan should be exciting. But definitely the homeless people in Michigan are being disparaged to a degree that I don't think people were aware of. And that's one of the pieces of data we've uncovered in this Assumed Authority project and the Homeless Access Project. And again, keep track of our archives. There's always something going on. We love you very much, and you have a grateful day now.